discrimination, against discrimination, and we can protect human rights in the most proper fashion, and that's with real courts and real judges, not political appointments, not patronage appointments, and not this break of natural justice and due process of law, which the Human Rights Commissions do.
Just want to be clear, you'd scrap it, right?
Scrap it and put it in the real courts where the criminal code is right now, protecting against hate speech. And there's also an important element here.
Okay, well, hang on. I got to even the time here.
So the courts allow truth to be a defense.
Yes.
Human Rights Commissions do not allow truth to be a defense.
Okay, we see the different positions already shaping up. Tim Hudak, where are you on this?
Well, let me tell you why fundamental change is very important. Just down the QEW highway from my office is Gator Ted's. Ted Kindos, the bar owner. And Gator Ted was ordered to accept medicinal marijuana smokers in his restaurant by the human rights bureaucracy. Then was told to put up signs saying that they accommodate marijuana smokers and train his staff and such. And then it gets worse, because then the Alcohol and Gaming Commission comes in and says, hey, you can't have marijuana smokers in your restaurant. If you do, we're going to take your license away. So the poor guy, Ted Kindos, is out some 40 grand in legal fees because of this madness. That's why we need to make change, and here's what I would do. First, I would keep the commission and put it back to its core mandate of education and letting folks know what their rights are and obligations before the system. And then second, get rid of the broken tribunal and replace it with a court-based system where you could allow costs to be recovered, where you get these frivolous and vexatious cases out of the system and help address those that are real cases of discrimination and harassment. There are long waiting lists. And then make sure that we have equal treatment under the law, so you can't have hearsay evidence that people would be innocent until proven guilty. It's going to take leadership to make those changes, but we need to do that as conservatives to address the long waiting lists and help people like Ted Kindos.
Just so I'm clear, though, you like to keep the commission with a mandate to educate, but the tribunal you think is broken, so scrap that, replace
it with a court-based system.
Frank Cleese.
Steve, the Human Rights Commission is a progressive conservative initiative in 1962 by John Robarts. It was put in place to ensure that people in this province have a place to go to protect their human rights against discrimination in the workplace when they're seeking shelter and public services. We all agree around this table that the role of the Human Rights Commission or tribunal has overreached, and it's now involved in areas that it should never be involved in. My position is that what we have to do is refocus the Human Rights Commission on its original mandate to deal with those matters of discrimination. But I want people in this province to know, Steve, that scrapping the tribunal, abolishing the Human Rights Commission is not a policy of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. We as a party stand firmly in support of human rights. And my concern is that any policy that would even telegraph that our party would stand for abolishing the tribunal or the commission would immediately translate into our party questioning the right of individuals to have their human rights defended.
Let me follow up on this, because there was a poll published a couple of days ago in the London Free Press, and we'll get into some discussion about that, no doubt. Here was the question that Angus Reid asked. Would you consider the Ontario PC Party as an alternative to the Liberals in the next election? And 42+% people said yes, they would consider it. 38.8% said no. The follow-up question that was then asked was, if the PC Party wants to scrap human rights tribunals, how about them? And the number goes down of the people prepared to consider voting Conservative. Only 25% plus in that case, 44% saying no. We hasten to add, this is an Angus Reid survey of 802 respondents done a week or so ago. The Elliott campaign commissioned the survey and also wrote the questions that were used. Doesn't make the numbers wrong, but we put that out there for the record for people's consideration. Do these numbers suggest to you, Tim Hudak, that if you want to scrap the tribunals, it will affect you at the ballot box the next time out?
No, not at all. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, if you pay for a poll, as Christine's campaign does, you can get the answers that you want. But the bottom line is, I mean, people are looking for leadership. Everyone around this table recognizes the system is badly broken. And we need real conservative leadership to address the long waiting lists and to get the political advocacy out of the system.
Okay, but you got to address your point right here on the issue of this is politically toxic for the party next time out.
Well, you know, quite frankly, if that were the case, I wouldn't have the endorsement of Keith Norton, the human rights activist and former chair of the Ontario Human Rights Commission. Keith is backing my campaign.
He announced that at 8 o'clock tonight.
It was a timely announcement, I guess. But to have Keith Norton on side, I think, indicates that this is that it needs real conservative leadership to turn this around. And quite frankly, if we were to run from every policy simply because Dalton McGuinty disagreed, we never would have brought in job quotas or scrap job quotas or work for welfare policies that sustain today.
Follow up for Christine Elliott.
Well, this was a properly conducted poll, Steve, and the numbers speak for themselves. And we did conduct the poll because of my significant concern that this is a politically toxic subject for our party to be engaging in. And when you look at the best interests of the party and your chances of winning the next election, because that's what ultimately we should be looking at, then I think we need to turn away and exercise good judgment and not go into those issues where we know they're very politically dangerous.
Frank Cleese.
Steve, without question, if we go down this road, we are handing the next 4 years to Dalton McGuinty on a platter. Keith Norton or no Keith Norton, this is about what the average person in Ontario is going to think about our party if the headline comes out, Human Rights Tribunal is abolished, or the party wants to abolish the Human Rights Tribunal. It'll take 2 seconds to get that headline. And just like the faith-based school policy, which took us 20 minutes to explain, and if you had the 20 minutes, then it was okay. No one has 20 minutes to explain this. I don't want to hand Dalton McGuinty yet one more election.
Randy Hillier.
Listen, leadership is not having pollsters and focus groups tell you what to do. Leadership is seeing the problems, seeing the injustice that is out there, and having the courage to stand up and prevent that injustice from happening. That's what leadership is about. That's why Conservatives have not done well in the last few elections, is because we haven't had the leadership to take on the big issues. And we're seeing again here tonight, leadership candidates who are not willing to take on and prevent injustice from happening in our province. I think it's a travesty that leadership, political leadership, is willing to sacrifice people like Ted Kindos in this province, hang him out to dry, and say that's a toxic position for us to defend.
Okay, Tim Hudak.
Yeah, I got a letter from the mayor of Penetanguishene that says that they've been taken 8 times before the human rights bureaucracy. One complaint was a human rights complaint that the way sidewalks were placed around the community, which I think is way out of where people would expect a human rights issue to be and would put hundreds of thousands of dollars of costs on the municipality. The system is clearly broken. And quite frankly, if you want to put the election on the platter for the Liberals, the best way to do so is to run from our conservative principles and try to be liberal light. I believe that when we address mainstream issues that Conservatives and middle-class families care about, they'll reward us with office and we can make Ontario a better place.
Just clarifying, are you calling him liberal light?
I think if you run from your conservative principles, you hand the Liberals the election on the platter in 2011.
Let me ask it again. Are you calling him liberal light?
I think if you run from addressing this issue, if you're afraid to take on this issue simply because Dalton McGuinty is opposed to it and you embrace McGuinty's position.
Is that what he's doing?
That would be.
Is that what he's doing?
If you take on McGuinty's position, you're liberal light.
Hey, Frank,
we
hang
should
on.
be judged by our actions,
He needs
not
a
by
chance
our
to respond to
words.
that. He needs a chance to respond to that.
Steve, here's what I stand for. I stand for policies that will not divide our party and that will not polarize our province. I don't want to go back, Steve, to those days when wedge issues were the flavor of the day, when we were picking fights with every stakeholder group in this province. That's why we're not in government today. I believe what we should be doing is identifying the common issues that are important to all Ontarians and stop trying to deal with these red meat issues that may be of importance to a few people, but the general population is going to say, not on your life. Here's what I want to do. And I predict this. If Tim Hudak and Randy Hillier are willing to put this issue to the grassroots policy development process of our party, overwhelmingly, they will reject what they're proposing. And that's what we should
Let's
be
find
doing.
out. Are you prepared to do that?
Of course, and it comes from the grassroots. I mean, every place I'm in across the province meeting with PCs, they say the human rights bureaucracy is badly broken. They want to see a change in sense of fairness.
Forgive
in
my
the
rushing along because we're out of time in this segment. One last word to Christine Elliott on this, and then we'll move on.
Well, I think, Steve, it's ultimately about judgment. You have to pick the policies that are in the best interests of all of the people of Ontario, and it's not helpful to be seen